Okay, think about this for a second. Your emails, maybe your post online, even just quick chat messages you send. Could the way you phrase things, I don't know, your little grammar quirks, maybe even how you use commas, could that actually be as unique as your fingerprint? It's kind of a surprising question, right? Well, today on the deep dive, that's exactly what we're getting into. How our writing, our own voice, might be turning into this sort of hidden biometric, a digital signature that, well, could be tracked, maybe even copied, or, and this is the unsettling part, potentially weaponized. We've been digging into some really fascinating research on this, looking at the hidden risks of writing. Now, in the age of AI. Okay, let's unpack this. How our words can be used to identify us or maybe even mimic or impersonate us.
Yeah, what you're pointing to there is basically stylometry. It's really not about what you're saying, but almost entirely about how you're saying it. We're talking everything, your grammar choices, the rhythm in your sentences, certain words you might overuse without even realizing it, even like odd spelling mistakes you consistently make or how you use punctuation. It's all part of this linguistic fingerprint in your text.
The linguistic fingerprint. Okay, so if it's the how, not the what, I mean, how deep does this go? Are we just talking obvious stuff like catchphrases?
Yeah.
Or is it really subtle habits, things maybe we don't even know we do?
Oh, it can get incredibly granular. And, the funny thing is, this isn't some brand new AI concept. It was actually formalized, believe it or not, way back in 1890. There's a Polish philosopher, Wincenty Lutosowski, and he used mathematical analysis on Plato's text to figure out authorship questions. He was basically laying the foundation for all this over a century ago.
Huh. And our source material actually has this great little story and anecdote that really shows how some people were already thinking about this writing fingerprint idea, even when, the experts were maybe a bit dismissive. Can you tell us a bit about that moment for the author?
Yeah, absolutely. So the author mentions that back in the early 90s, they had this exact idea, identifying people by writing style. Apparently, their mentors thought it was fanciful, I think was the word, and not a real use case, kind of brushed it off. But then it really clicked for the author during this one specific incident. A fellow student had plagiarized some assembly language code, and the lecturer spotted it instantly, said the optimization level, structure, and style were unmistakably the author's.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like clear proof that this unique signature was there, whether it was code or, normal writing. That moment really solidified the whole idea of a linguistic fingerprint for them.
So that fanciful idea didn't stay fanciful for long. It moved pretty quickly from like analyzing Plato to cyber forensics.
Exactly. I mean, think about the explosion of online content in the early 2000s. Stylometry suddenly shifted. It became a real tool in open source intelligence OSINT. By the mid-2010s, people were actively using it, trying to unmask anonymous threat actors online, trace where misinformation was coming from, link digital footprints across forums, social media, even the dark web. And today, forensic linguists, AI researchers, they treat writing style as a genuine biometric, which means people can actually be tracked across different platforms, linked to anonymous accounts, sock puppets, they call them. Sometimes this evidence is even used in court.
Seriously, based on how they write.
Yeah, and what makes up that signature? It's often the tiny things, the unconscious choices that add up. Like, how often do you use a semicolon? Do you put 2 spaces after a full stop, or just 1? Or maybe you have uncommon words you keep using. The author, for instance, apparently uses the word moratorium quite a bit, those little tells.
Which brings us right up to today in this really complicated, almost tangled relationship between AI and our writing voices. I mean, think about it. Tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they're not just toys anymore, are they? For a lot of us, they've sort of quietly become extensions of how we communicate every single day. You see professionals, outsourcing their voice to AI all the time, polishing up a LinkedIn post, maybe drafting a really neutral-sounding email, turning messy thoughts into something structured. It saves time, adds polish.
But here's the paradox, and it's a fascinating one. That same tech that helps you polish your writing, it can also replicate your unique voice with, frankly, unnerving precision. All your little quirks, your phrasing, the cadence, it can capture that. And here's the kicker. It doesn't necessarily need access to your private stuff, like your email account. If you've written enough publicly blog posts, comment sections, maybe even support tickets online, that can be enough data to train a model on your specific style.
Okay, that's unsettling. But practically, I mean, how much writing are we talking about? If I'm just, a regular person online, how much would an AI really need to copy me that well?
Well, it varies depending on how distinct your style is, but maybe surprisingly little for a, let's say, convincing imitation. And think about the potential consequences. Imagine a phishing email, perfectly written in your style, landing in your colleague's inbox.
Oof.
Or a fake resignation letter sounding exactly like you, sent to your boss. Or even something sneakier like a malicious comment impersonating you on, say, GitHub, designed to subtly damage your reputation. And here's where it gets really interesting, or maybe worrying. The better your writing is, the more distinct and clear, the easier it actually is to train a model on it.
Wait, so good writers are more vulnerable?
In a way, yes. Their signal is stronger, easier to lock onto. It's basically social engineering, but using your own linguistic patterns against you. Your voice becomes a potential liability. So AI can be like a mirror, right? Reflecting your style back at you. Or it can be a shield if you use it to deliberately mask your style, maybe for anonymity. But it can also be a mask, one that somebody else puts on to pretend to be you. And this leads to something our sources are calling the Great Flattening.
The Great Flattening.
Yeah. As more and more of us rely on these AI tools, especially for professional communication, there's this kind of creeping uniformity emerging. Writing becomes polite, but sort of passive, polished, sure, but maybe a bit sterile, emotionally neutral. It often just lacks that human spark.
You know, I think I've done that, trying to make an email sound professional or neutral and then reading it back thinking, wow, that sounds like nothing. Like a robot wrote it. Is that it? Is that the flattening?
That's exactly it. And it's such an irony, isn't it? We're constantly being told, find your voice, be authentic. But the very tools many people are using are actually sanding off the unique edges, the things that make us sound like us. Our individuality, our written identity kind of becomes a casualty of convenience. Now, sometimes people use AI deliberately to break their own pattern, maybe for privacy reasons, which can be smart, but there's a cost. The more we get used to this AI-generated flattened style, the harder it might become for us to even spot genuine human expression versus machine text. Our sources had a great example of this. They showed an original paragraph written in the author's specific style, quirks, sarcasm, even that pet word moratorium.
Right.
Then they showed an AI-style imitator. It sounded okay, maybe, but a bit too polished, a bit too general. The sarcasm felt off, and that pet word was missing. Something wasn't quite right. And then the AI-neutral rewrite. And that one, just bland. No voice, no soul, zero human edge. If everything starts sounding like that neutral rewrite, how do we ever know what's real anymore?
Okay, so if AI can copy our linguistic DNA, basically, and if using AI risks making us all sound the same, I mean, where does that leave us as people who write? This isn't just a tech puzzle, is it? It feels like a really deep, modern problem for everyone. Do you choose privacy, maybe by deliberately flattening your style with AI? Or do you choose authenticity, knowing you're leaving that fingerprint everywhere? Because on one hand, yes, stripping out your style could protect you. If you're a whistleblower, for instance, that's vital. But if you flatten your voice too much, you lose something important about yourself. And maybe, just maybe, it makes it easier for someone else to convincingly steal the voice you used to have.
And that hits on a really important question, doesn't it? It's a kind of paradox, both psychologically and operationally. If you write like yourself, authentically, you are potentially fingerprintable. Your style can be identified. But if you write like everyone else, using those neutral AI outputs, you risk becoming, well, disposable, interchangeable.
Right, that's the paradox exactly. To be safe, we might have to become less ourselves. It used to be that having a distinct voice, a clear style, was a source of power, of influence. But now, maybe that same distinct voice is actually a liability. And that should really make us stop and think.
Definitely. And the tech world isn't standing still. There's already an arms race heating up to try and protect our linguistic identity. People are developing stylometric detectors, tools designed specifically to flag AI-generated text. There's work on watermarking technologies, trying to embed cryptographic proof of authorship into digital documents. And then you have these more advanced concepts like SEAL AI, that stands for self-evolving autonomous language agent.
Self-evolving.
Yeah, AI designed to actually change its own linguistic patterns over time, either to seem more convincingly human or maybe to deliberately avoid detection by those stylometric tools. It's getting complex.
But hang on, the core problem still seems to be watermarking is great for proving you wrote something new, but it doesn't stop someone from training an AI model on all the stuff you've already written, right? All your past emails, posts, whatever's out there. At that point, it's not just generic AI text, it's specifically you-style content, forged from your history, your voice, essentially cloned and ready to be misused.
That's precisely the challenge, and it's why the next big frontier in cybersecurity might actually involve a heavy dose of linguistics. We could start seeing tools like stylometric keys or authorship fingerprints, maybe voice integrity checks built right into things like email or messaging apps. It's even possible future writing software might include things like style locks, ways to verify you are who you say you are based on how you're writing in real time. Or perhaps forensic beacons to confirm authorship. You could imagine a future where, say, internal company communications require some kind of verified identity tied to writing style, while public communication defaults to a more homogenized SafeNet if you want anonymity. But the fundamental truth, and the research really underscores this, is that technology evolves rapidly, but basic human patterns, they don't change quite so fast. We leave traces
Right.
in how we walk, how we talk, and absolutely in how we write. The digital age just makes those traces incredibly easy to collect, analyze, mimic, and potentially exploit.
Right. So I guess the core message from all this is, look, AI is an amazing tool, undeniably powerful. But your voice, your authentic way of expressing yourself, that's still yours. Or it should be. Maybe we just need to be much more careful, much more conscious about who gets to train their algorithms on it. So thinking about all this, what does it actually mean for your digital footprint? For how you choose to write and express yourself online? Do you lean into your unique style, knowing the risks? Or do you start to flatten it out, maybe use AI as a shield? It's a real tension, isn't it? Definitely something worth mulling over long after this deep dive ends.
And maybe just one quick distinction worth making. Sometimes people hear biometrics and think of things like BioCatch, systems that track how you type the rhythm, the speed, mouse movements. That's behavioral biometrics, and it's more about the act of creation, which is ephemeral. Stylometry is different. It's about the result, the final text that lives on, carrying that fingerprint. That's where the real persistent risk lies, the risk of mimicry and impersonation we've been talking about.
A crucial difference. Okay, lots to think about there. We really invite you, the listener, to join us in just considering these questions. Think about your own unique digital voice and how you want to navigate this new landscape.